talk, but I haven't got too much.
For nearly 3 decades, Geddy Lee's signature voice and savage bass have propelled Rush to rock superstardom. Along with guitarist Alex Lifeson and drummer Neil Peart, they've released 22 albums and racked up sales of 35 million worldwide so far. When the band went on temporary hiatus, Geddy Lee and Ben Mink, who wrote with Katie Lang, hooked up, and his first solo album was born.
One man standing on the plains of Abraham, watching a damaged sunrise. One man standing near the edge of a quiet breakdown.
It's your first solo record. What would you say was your confidence level starting out?
Sheepish, I think. I think I backed into this project. I satisfy so much of my musical self in context of Rush, so I don't have any great frustrations from that point of view. So when material started to come along and my friend Ben Mink and I started writing together, and we didn't really have a destination for that material. It was all done for fun and just to see what would happen. And when it became apparent that the most sensible thing to do was to make a record, it took on a whole different import. And then I started feeling a bit sheepish about it, like, you know, do I really want to go out there and do this, you know, on my own? Like, why?
What did you realize that it is that Alex and Neil really contribute in the recording process when they're not there?
Yeah. Well, aside from the humor.
How was the take? Was it great? I could try it with a Scottish accent. Is that better?
A different humor than was floating around the room. The sharing of responsibility is a big difference. You share the load and you share the stress. So those things were quite different working in the context of this record. Not bad, quite nice in some ways, because I could change my mind. And that's on the plus side. If a song is halfway finished or completely finished and I'm not really pleased with it, I could change my mind and not do it or do something else. Those are decisions that are not easy to make in the context of a band, because you've got to get everybody, come on everybody, let's get on the bandwagon and change direction. That's unwieldy. It's not easy to do that.
Have either Alex or Neil heard this record?
No, they haven't. Neither of them have. You know, I'm a fairly secretive guy when I work, and I don't like people to hear what I'm doing until it's finished. So now it's finished, and it's only been finished for about 2 weeks now. So now I'll get copies to them. And
is that going to feel weird? Like waiting for their response?
It is going to feel weird. But they've always been such great writing partners and bandmates and soul brothers to me that I have no doubt that they'll be very supportive and say only nice things to me.
Your music and with Rush is so integral to when you think about the Canadian music scene. But do you feel, not so much in this country, but in music generally, do you feel like an insider or an outsider?
A little bit like an outsider in a way. And I say that because our music has never been fashionable at the time it was occurring. And our careers seem to exist beside the music scene as opposed to in the heart of it. And in the early days, that was good fuel, especially around the time that we were doing 2112. That was a record that was born of frustration and passion, and in the end has probably turned out to be the most important work that we ever did in terms of setting our careers down a particular road. So being the outsider definitely had its advantages. When
everybody heard about the terrible double tragedy that happened in Neil Peart's life, losing his wife to cancer and his teenage daughter in a car accident, was there a sense that who knew what was going to happen to Rush at that time?
I think so. I mean, it was a very dark and terrible time for all of us, and we couldn't even think about the practicalities of our lives. It was a tough, thing to work through. And of course, our main concern was to be there for Neil. But people still need to work and to create and to do what they need to do. And in that time of grieving, I felt it was important for me to express myself and to get my hands busy.
Making a solo record now, after a lengthy career, do you think it's harder to do it now than it would have been right at the beginning of your career?
Harder to do in one sense, easier in another sense. Easier,
Which senses?
Easier from the point of view that I have much more confidence than I would have had, 10, 15 years ago. But it would have been easier then because I was more naive. And that naivete is very valuable in the music business or in any business, To go blindly through a door is sometimes a good thing.
Well, you're going through now, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. I'm in there now.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
My favorite headache will be in record stores in a couple of days.